Hello there and welcome to my channel Marty Design. My name is Marlies and today we are going to explore an oldie but very Goldie crunch technique. And you can already take a little sneak peek of what is coming in this video. I cannot wait and jump in and get started on creating and exploring these very simple and household items that you need to create these kind of pieces. It also does not take a whole lot of time. It is simple to create and also awesome to use in very simple and easy to make embellishments and decoration. First, I will start by telling you what kind of materials you can get out of your cupboards and put on your table so we can get started. What do we need for this project? What is in front of me? I have some tea bags, a plain white candle, some recycled tissue paper, white napkins, and my iron. Besides those basic materials, I will also use a couple of stamp sets. These stamp sets are from Holtz and Stampers Anonymous, and I will use some Archival ink black Soot, ground Espresso, and my Distress ink vintage photo, and when it will work I will use a blending tool. This is my starting point, my little setup. The first layer on my table is a craft sheet. On top of my craft sheet I have placed a baking sheet and I'm starting this tryout with a white napkin. This will be the stamp of my choice. This stamp set is called Dapper CMS 267. My first try of ink will be the Archival ink black Soot. Next I will use my candle and a sharp knife to scrape off chips of the candle on top of my stamped image. I do not know yet what kind of coverage we need, so this will be my first try. Maybe we will need more of the candle, or yeah, maybe we need less. Let's find out. The stamp and wax is totally dry and you can see can you see it? Yeah, the camera picks up slightly. It is a bit see-through right now. And one thing I noticed, but I don't know if it is visible on camera, but there was some kind of reddish, pinkish haze around the head and here around the shoulders. And that is interesting because I did not add any kind of color on top of this. Yeah, so could it be like a chemical reaction or something? Very interesting. Let's go to our second try. Again, I have a white napkin, but I would like to bring in some color. I will try to put on some color with my Distress ink vintage photo and my blending tool. I will stamp with this stamp set from Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. It is called Renaissance CMS 415. This will be the stamp of my choice. I also would like to try another kind of Archival ink, in this case ground Espresso, so we can put all our pieces next to each other later on. And maybe we will notice a difference or a preparation, or we will find out that something did not work. Again, I will put some candle chips on top of my stamped image. And this is the result of our second try. You can definitely see the ink through. I really like that effect. It makes it more like antique or vintage. And you can still see my hand moving through the napkin. So there still is a bit of transparency. For my third try, my first step will be to crumple up my napkin. My napkin is unfolded on the table in front of me, and I also got out some distress ink, faded jeans. I would like to make a bit of splattering on top of my napkin and then do the same technique, so stamping and adding the candle wax, and just see if that makes any difference or that those splatters will like bleed. Let's try. On this napkin I will work with these large numbers. They are from the set Paint by Number CMS 483, and I will stamp with the Archival ink Black Soot. And this is what it looks like up close. You can still see my hand through the paper, through the napkin, so it is still transparent. You can see the splatters in blue, and again I think a chemical reaction because I can see reddish, pinkish colors around the numbers. Let's go for a second round, but then with a different material, well, a little bit different. This is a tissue paper, recycled, so the color is more beige. This tissue has multiple layers, but I think I will just work on one layer. And the reason why I have chosen this colored tissue is because I want to see what the difference is between the white napkin and when you use tissue like this with a color in it. First I will use the tissue how they came out of the package. Nothing is done to this tissue paper yet, so I'm just going to stamp on top. I will stamp the Tim Holtz Professor. This one is out of the set The Professor number 2, CMS 395. I will stamp with Archival ink Black Soot. My first impression did not come out very clear, so I will stamp again, but then with an acrylic block. Let's try our second sheet. So first I will put on a layer with Distress Ink, a vintage photo and my blending tool to give the tissue paper some color. For this tissue paper I will use the following stamp set. Worn Text CMS 156. I will ink the stamp up with the Archival ink Ground Espresso. You can still see the distress color, the vintage photo. And of course my image, my stamped image was not like clear and perfect, but yeah, I do like that because when you want to use this as a background, that is, yeah, just fine. And again, you can see it is see-through, you can see my hand moving. Yeah, I like this effect. So for my third option, I will crinkle the tissue paper again. Splatter with my blue ink, faded jeans. And I really would like to stamp some more of the numbers with my Black Soot Archival ink. And here we have the result after adding the wax of the candle. I can see the staining in there, even though our tissue paper is already colored. So I like the staining, it gives a worn and more antique look. The stamped images are very well visible, also on a colored tissue. And I really love the wrinkles that you can see in this tissue paper. I prepared some tea bags for my third round of trying. So the first tea bag is just the way it came out of, well, my tea, my cup of tea. I have stamped on top with this text stamp, and the stamp is from the Professor 2 CMS 395. I have inked up this tea bag with my Distress Ink, a vintage photo and my blending tool, and stamped on top with my stamp set Renaissance. For my third and last tea bag, I did some splattering with my Distress Ink Faded Jeans, and on top of that I have stamped with my Stampset Worn Text. After doing the first 3 batches, I was thinking I do not need to stamp myself. There already is beautiful tissue paper. In this case, the collage paper from Tim Holtz. This is the typeset, and these two came out of the roll Photographic. First I will give this piece and this piece a thin layer of Distress Ink Vintage Photo. Now I will put on some pieces of my candle and melt the candle wax. I have put all my results on the table so we can get a good overview. Some of them really pop out and some, well, I like them a little bit less. So the numbers totally fine. I mean, they are bold, they are popping. You can use them in multiple ways. These I have cut out with scissors, just a straight edge. And over here you can see you can also tear your numbers out of the napkin. The same goes for the Professor. You can cut them out or you can tear the image out of the tissue paper. Then these two, for example, I like this one. This was stamped with the Renaissance stamp set. It is visible enough, but when I used the other stamp from the Renaissance stamp set and I stamped on my tea bag, the result was very, very light. So this is one I do not like it, but a little bit less than the rest. There is also a difference in the ink. I mean, the black ink, the black Soot is really, really visible. So no problems in that area. But when you stamp with a brown color, there is a little bit more of a risk that the stamped image is less visible. I also like the collage paper, how it turned out. This one is without Distress Ink Vintage Photo, and this one has the Vintage Photo on top. And I like them both. So when we talk about the stamping, stamps that are more detailed are more difficult to see on those tissues and napkins. But when you have a great outline or a solid piece of a stamp, the stamping is much better. And you might think, what are you going to do, make or create with these pieces? I will show you. So this is what you can create. I have put them on a different kind of background because my craft sheet is brown and most of these things are also brown, so you cannot really see very well the effect that I am aiming for. But let's get right into it. So let me tell you how I have used my waxed images. This is one of the Tim Holtz Specimen slides. When you die cut this shape, you will have one side that is totally closed and one side with a frame. But for what we created today, you need a total see-through. So I have cut out the other side of the paper too, because I still want this transparency effect. I have used one of the collage paper pieces that we created as a photo. I have placed it in one of the specimen slides, added some screw heads on the top and gave the frame a little label with one of the words out of the remnant drops. So this is idea number 1. Remember my video last week on how I created the mega sheet? This frame, this paper, came out of that mega sheet. I doubled the paper, cut out a window on both sides of the paper to create a see-through. There was a clear area here on the bottom and I decided to fill that up with stamping. The transparency that we created in this video, this was one of the tea bags. That means that the color that you can see in here is natural from the tea. It is not stained by Distress ink or any other kind of ink. On the top I have put an eyelet through and some leftover pieces of string and fabric. I think this is a lovely idea for like a grungy journal when you have pockets so you can slide it in and out. Then idea number 3. This is just a regular envelope. The envelope was tea and coffee dyed, stained. I also sprayed some distress spray on it, the scorched timber. And I have cut out a frame just on one side of the envelope. That means the back is still whole in one piece. You can see when I put my hand in there it is still transparent. And of course when you want to recreate something like this there are more possibilities. I mean, you can stamp on the edges of the envelope, you can put some decorations on top, you can put some nice papers on the inside so it will see through. Just go through your stash of stencils, stamps, embellishments, ephemera, layers, whatever you have, and decorate it, create it the way that you want or desire. So this is the total end result of today's video. I really enjoyed this technique. Even if those techniques are old, I still think, and that is why I called the title of this video that way, I think it is gold. Because the effect is so very beautiful and so grungy for your journals, for your pockets, for your folios. And who does not love a frame with a transparency in it? I know I do. Only thing left to do for you is just give it a try. Maybe try different kind of tissue papers, different kind of colors. You can try to play with the amount of candle wax that you will put on, and you can also do different things with the ink. Archival ink, distress ink, maybe you want to spray on top of the napkins first. Just give it all a go and find out for yourself what kind of results you can get. This was my video for you today. I hope you liked it and will now have the motivation to try this technique yourself. I would definitely appreciate it if you could like the video, subscribe to my channel, do not forget to hit the notification bell to get notified when I upload new videos for you, or leave a comment down below. And when you have any questions, also pop them in so I can answer them. There is one extra thing that I would like to point out. This frame was created with one of my sheets that I got out of my mega sheet. I have had a couple of requests for those papers if I could make them into digital art. Digital papers for junk journaling. And I did. So for the ones who were asking, I will put a link in my description box below so you can check out my newest digital kit in my Etsy store. What you can also find in my description box below is a link for my coffee shop, a link to my Etsy store, and all links to my social platforms so you can follow me. Happy creating everybody and have a wonderful day! Bye!